I was asked by DIT if I could just give a few minutes really on, I guess, what larger companies in this clean growth sector have done, not least to stimulate supply chain in the UK context. We've heard today, UK content in projects that are supported by, UK government, etc., is very, very important. But also just a bit of a step forward to what does the future look like. So supporting trade and investment in offshore wind. So you would have heard this morning from Duncan and some of my other colleagues around the conference that we have really spent a lot of energy and a lot of effort in really building up a UK supply chain for our projects. And so I just wanted to kind of give a flavour for some of the things that we've done to enable that. On the image here, you can see this was an event we held last year, the Hornsea 2 supply chain event. So we held it in Sheffield. We figured that was the centre of the country and in the north, which is important. But also what we did was we invited business networks from all of the different regions for them to bring their memberships of their business memberships to our event. Where they would hear from Duncan as the project director, and not just us, but our top tier suppliers for Hornsea Project 2 about what we needed, when we'll need it, how to apply, and what we're looking for essentially. And so that was a really successful event. We had about 500 companies that came along to that event and were represented. And then a couple of months after that, once we'd kind of gathered all the inputs from that event, we held a number of follow-up events which would enable us to have some more sort of in-depth conversations with those companies and see whether there was ways in which they could become a part of Hornsea Project 2. So that's an example of how we really have, directly engaged with the supply chain. But aside from that, we also attend the national conferences such as this, so we're keeping an active dialogue with the business community. But also, business networks in the regions. I mean, where we're located, where our business interests are, but also across the UK, we find that there is often a business network, or sometimes a couple of them, which really have a good overview of what their business community looks like in products, services, various things that can be offered. And so we work with those business networks in a number of ways. So one simple way is if we actually do have a need, we can quite quickly put out some kind of opportunity alert with those business networks of what our requirement might be. Of course, they can put that around their membership, or they can go to specific members, and we can quite quickly have a response, which is it's obviously useful for us, but it also is good for the company that has a kind of route way in. We also sponsor support business network events. Often many of them have like an annual conference at least, or specific supply chain events during the year, so we're part of that. But we also are quite strategic with the business network, so we get involved sometimes at their kind of strategy kind of level, strategic memberships, etc., so that we can really be keeping a proactive message going forward about what the needs of this industry are. You'll also notice that the business networks also are quite involved in the export opportunities as well, so we can be making sure that people are well informed as early as possible. We also have a supplier portal, that's ours on our website. If you come to our stand and you're interested in supplying to our company, we can give you a card that's got the full web address on there, but that essentially is a portal that companies can register their details on, and our product line sort of quite regularly screens what's coming in on there. So if there is there are interesting suppliers, then that's a way in which to register interest. Duncan this morning quickly referenced an example of an innovation which has been really announced recently, picked, which is a quite novel and innovative way, quite transformative way of moving technicians from vessels to a turbine, without ladders. It's quite impressive. It's really exciting stuff. And that's an example of where we've seen there's something really quite transformative, and we can see that's actually going to have quite big benefits to our operations and our business and our design and costs and everything of our infrastructure. And so we've actually, on the rare occasion where we really do sort of see something that could be quite game-changing, we have actually gone in with the company and actually invested in these kind of solutions, which are quite exciting. I've just put on the bottom there supporting tours as well, and I'll come back to that at the end. So we have, as you'll have seen, quite a number of wind farms around the coast. We have operation and maintenance bases, primarily Grimsby and Birkenhead, and in Barrow-in-Furness. And, if you're someone who wants to know about how offshore wind looks like on the ground, they're obviously quite interesting facilities to come visit. So yeah, I'm duplicating Duncan's presentation this morning, but this is just to say, we do all of this this activity because we want a really healthy UK supply chain. As we've talked about a lot today, UK is the largest market for this, for the offshore wind sector. And it's been going for, it's still quite a young industry in lots of ways, but it's been going on in the UK for probably longer than anywhere else. So there's a big track record there, and there's a whole wealth of companies that have developed that track record through the supplying our projects and other developers in the UK's projects. Yeah, just to say, so I think we've talked a lot about the reduction of the cost of generation for offshore wind, the fact that that's making it now much more of a globally attractive opportunity. So for Orsted, just to say that our first sort of steps kind of internationally from Europe are east coast of America and Taiwan. And this is reflected in our kind of our wind build out over time, and I guess what you should also be interested in is the far right column there, and that future ambition. And then when we look around the world, so we might be looking at US East Coast at the moment, Taiwan, but all of these, well, the yellow areas is where there's activity already happening around the offshore wind opportunity now. The blue areas are areas where the geography would support offshore wind quite readily. So, message is it's a global opportunity. We've got the largest track record in this country. Again, I mentioned this yesterday in my presentation around sector deal. So it goes without saying, if we look at the bottom line of here, quite sort of modest exports at the moment. But what I guess the message is that this is a global expansion, and this export opportunity is certainly very exciting. That's not forgetting, obviously, the massive amount of growth in this country for businesses to find opportunity in. So this is just my last slide, really, being quite quick today. So this is some photos of a few delegations that have been here in the last 12 months. So represented, we've had Japan, America, Taiwan, South Korea, Australia, China, Brazil. That's just in the last 12 months. There's actually been other ones before that as well. And these are particularly taken at our facility in Grimsby, our East Coast hub. And I guess what I'm kind of thinking now is to say, well, the spotlight is on now. We are seen in a global arena as, the UK, the North, is absolutely leading the way in this industry. And I think perhaps we've spent quite a lot of time. In my previous role, I used to work for the Humber Local Enterprise Partnership, so I did a lot of work around investment, and we were quite good at formulating what the offer was for companies to invest in the UK to help this industry on, and also supporting the local companies as well what we're after, investment and jobs and things. And that's great, and I think we had a very strong offer. We knew our offer for inward investment, essentially, really well. We spent quite a lot of time developing that offer and making nice brochures and taking them to conferences and things like that. And I think now what I'm kind of saying is the spotlight's on in the UK, in the places that have got those clusters of offshore wind so far. But I think perhaps we're a little bit behind sometimes on figuring out what's our offer for export. I think we all have a good idea of the capabilities in our clusters, but perhaps we need to probably spend a little bit of time packaging that and being able to showcase the companies and the capabilities, the IP, the services, products, etc., on that global stage now. So that was just a bit of a thought I thought I'd leave you with today.